Welcome, my friends, to Saturday Night Live, Wednesday Night Live, the mystery and the magic of the star tetrahedron, the Christ matrix. I was sitting in meditation this afternoon, and feeling once again into the essence of the Christ star. And as I was watching it turning and moving, it actually had a density of structure to it. It wasn't just an outline of a form. It actually had a faceted density. And like a jewel, there was then the feeling that source spirit was arising from inside out. And as it was touching then the facets of the star, which was a very almost like solid light structure, then one could see rippling out waves of light in a 360-degree fashion, above and below and back and all around. And so it is just like the sun. The sun is a Christ matrix, a Christ star, and there is also then the star tetrahedron. And of course, the star tetrahedron, it isn't one size. Even the DNA in our body is formed by the star tetrahedron. So if you can imagine it turning, so when you look at DNA, it's a spiral that spirals up. Well, if you would take the star tetrahedron and turn it and then spiral it up, it would then actually outline DNA. And then all of the facets within the star tetrahedron, they would then be nucleic acids. And the nucleic acids, as they turn, and each one of them, they interface, it then creates a protein structure. And so the nucleic acids on the spinning star tetrahedron, as it rises up, creates your DNA. And so that's one of the smaller, almost more infinitesimal sizes of it. But then it is literally moving through all creation at all levels from there up. The earth, the sun, the human form, all creation is of the geometry, the Christed geometry, the matrix of the star tetrahedron. And the beauty of it is, within a human being, once you master the star tetrahedron, which is the upper triangulation of divine power, you have fully assimilated the knowledge of what power truly is within you. We have been taught and programmed within society to believe that program is wanting and doing and needing and performing. And that is simply part of gathering information about how power structures itself, how it reveals and unfolds itself. And we come to the time in our consciousness and our evolution where we begin to hone and refine the mind to a place of silence. And as it moves in that place of silence, because we are no longer needing or wanting or desiring, we are fulfilled within. We know and love ourselves, we're fulfilled. We then begin to have the realization that the truest state of power is simply the focusing of light, which is attention, focusing the mind with light and attention. And then we have mastered the lower triangulation, which is of divine feminine love, because we have worked through all the emotions that we have also been programmed with that keep us in limitation. And we begin to profoundly love that which we are. And so as we are loving self, we are no longer needing something in the world to validate us, to love us, to acknowledge us. We are self-actualized from within. And so divine love is now established. It is then in the mystical marriage of the divine masculine of focusing attention and light. And the real beauty of that is that this geometry, of course, is throughout all creation. But within a human being, as that happens, and you have mastered then the Christ matrix, the rotation of the star tetrahedron around the heart chakra, it opens a doorway, a sacred doorway within the very middle of your being back into the realms of void, of spirit. And then arising forth, you see, is the origination of life, spirit. and it is arising forth from within you. The breath is then the summoning, the calling of spirit. You have now been able to focus the mind with supreme clarity and light focused. And with the feeling of imagination and love, you now have focusing light, you have imagination. It creates then a holographic imaging, and then arising forth, you see, is spirit that actually gives it life. And so life is then produced by you. You become a creator being. And as a creator being, you see, you're no longer working with what's created. You're no longer working with the resources and the things that are out there. We acknowledge and love them as emanations of Source God, for sure. But at the same time, we realize that now we're stepping into co-creatorship. And with our imagination and our feeling nature, we can then begin to create from inside out that which would be our desire, our joy. And then there's no longer the limitation of resources. There's no longer the limitation of food or of energy, you see. Those are all simply constructs of the human dimension, the dimension that is now closing. And as we're moving to the closing of that paradigm, we're inviting those who would like to step into the new paradigm, which is what we're talking about, the Christ matrix, becoming truly empowered with attention and light and focus, fully loving to be able to simply use all the resources of heaven and earth to simply give and to serve and to create. Because you're no longer needing, you're no longer wanting or desiring. Your only joy is simply giving that which you are, the feeling of source, of God, of life, in and through you to simply radiate it more and more. It's much like a rose. A rose has simply the joy of revealing its beauty, but at the same time revealing the beauty of its perfume that it simply exudes out into life. Rose isn't looking for something. It's not looking for your validation. It simply says, I am here as the gift of source. God, I am. And the perfume I am is now simply wafting out to those who would partake of it because it is my gift. And so you see, this is the new paradigm that we're stepping into. No longer the needing and grasping and wanting, which creates conflict. If you have something and I feel like I don't have it and I want it or I need it, there's conflict. I now want that from you. I now need that from you to feel fulfilled or happy or complete. That's conflict, you see. And so we're at the apex of that great conflict within the human dimension right now because it's over. We've come to the close of the Piscean age. It closed in December 21st of 2021. We're now, really moving deeply into Aquarius, which is now moving more into the Christed matrix. We see some of the last throes of conflict on the planet, of war, of, the really deep desire to want and to need and to harm and to hurt. It's very visceral in our eyes, but it's simply showing us that that's the old way. And now they're withholding gas and they're withholding resources to other people on the planet. But you see, in the new age of creating from inside out, we become creator beings, and there's no longer the limitation of resources. So that's the real beauty, you see, of the Christ matrix, and actually beginning to feel and experience that Christed star actually within and through you, and you can feel then spirit arising forth. And you truly give yourself the knowing, the acknowledgement that I can now begin to create more and more of the reality that I choose from the joy of my creation, not because I'm needing it, simply the joy of my experience. So that's why we practice, you see, our meditation with the star tetrahedron, the star matrix. It's a very important part of allowing our energy to shift from the old paradigm, you see, into the new paradigm. If we're not doing something dynamic to hone and refine a new energy wave, a new energy form within us, the old world, which is very visceral out there, it keeps pulling at us. And we then feel emotions of loneliness and emotions of sadness and worry and fear, which was, of course, compounded greatly during COVID. It was part of the matrix of the old negative form, if you will, saying if we can move more people into fear, we can control and can manipulate more. And it's not something that is necessarily, evil. It's just that there is the forces out there that want more money and more power and more control. Well, we don't resist it, we don't dislike it, we don't judge it, but we know if we take the time to do our meditation and hone and refine the Christ matrix within us, we're stepping through that doorway where we can no longer be manipulated or controlled. Dis-ease is not possible within our bodies because we have created then the vibration within us of such love and light and harmony that dis-ease is no longer a factor for the human that is now light embodied. So everything becomes so much more peaceful and plentiful and full of beauty and grace. The theme of the talk tonight, that was a pretty good sized spiel right there. But the theme of the talk tonight was it's simply emotions that are keeping you from your realization, your full realization. Now, emotions and feelings are two separate things. Feelings are joy and creativity and imagination, excitement, enthusiasm, and love. See, those are positive expressions of Source God's creative joy, which is your natural birthright. They're almost, we might say, the innate qualities of the magical child: joy, creativity, imagination, fulfillment of expression, you see. But when we're programmed by limited concepts and ideas, which we all have grown up with because we are products of the old paradigm, that's where the seeds of our becoming was. It's wonderful information. I'm truly excited and in love with all the emotion and the programming I got because it allowed me to understand, well, how does programming and negativity work? And how can I use it to move me forth into self-love and self-acceptance? So it's been quite phenomenal and beautiful. You see, it's why we chose to be here at this particular time. But any residual emotion within us of subtleties of fear or worry or angst or depression or even more visceral of anger or even hatred, there's nothing wrong with any of those emotions. They're simply signposts. And they're signposts that we're creating from inside out because we want to be able to look outside and then get a reflection of how am I doing at the unconscious level within me. If I'm meeting love and peace and excitement and joy and magic, that's also an emanation. You see, it's also a reflection of who you are. And so every day, you see, we're simply creating reflections in the world by the people, the place, the events, the things of who and what am I. And it's marvelous information if we use it in a way that's constructive. If we take it in and then we feel guilty or we feel shame, we're once again then back in the old paradigm of then parents and society and the world and, schooling, all of it, trying to shame us to grow. It's not possible. And so when emotion comes up, because it is a signpost, it's saying there is a part of myself I have not yet learned to love. I have not yet learned to love a part of myself because it was programmed in error, simply error. Not wrong, not bad, simply an error. And if I feel the emotion and get quiet and begin to focus my mind, excuse me, back down to my heart and move into my feeling nature, I can feel once again, not think about it, not try to examine it. This is more what psychology and psychotherapy does. It can open doorways for you, for sure, but then we must move to the next level of bringing the mind back into silence, focusing upon the feeling of love, and going back down inside and feeling the emotion. We don't become the emotion, we don't get lost within it. We stand beside it, if you will, as an empowered mother, father being. And then as we feel the emotion, we allow ourselves to begin to gently settle through the emotion. And you will always find a part of yourself as a child, sometime between conception and 7 years of age, when someone or some authority figure programmed you with some negative thought or idea. And now you're still carrying it, you see, within your body. And it creates self-judgment, it creates fear, it creates depression, it creates any or every disease you've ever had in your body. It creates the situations in the world that cause you problems, the car accidents, the coming of a COVID into your body. It can only come into the body if there is still some emotion within. Not to judge oneself, but to simply say, oh, here is information. And so when we go down and then we feel the emotion and settle down inside, we find that magical child that is still perfect. It's like this amazing jewel inside that is joy and creativity and imagination and excitement. But around it, there's a fog. And that fog is someone else's judgment or criticism that makes the child feel fearful or lonely. Well, what's it looking for? It's looking for a mother of love, a father of power to stand beside it. And who is that? That's the soul that you are that created the child. Because the soul took a piece of itself, the child of magic, set it down into the time space, and mother and father prepared the physical form, and now the magic was within. And so when you go back in and you unite power, father, love, mother, that's the quality of the soul. And now the Father, Mother Divine is feeling the emotion, but simply settling through and then finding that magical child and bringing self love. And as you then begin to love that childlike part, you begin to feel this renewal happening. You begin to feel the excitement, the joy, the knowing that you can go out and create your reality as you choose because you're no longer looking for someone to validate you or to accept you. You're beginning to move really into self validation, self acceptance. And the emotion, just like smoke, over time you'll feel it begin to disappear. And so we begin to learn to love oneself from inside out. You see, right now, so many people are looking for something to validate them or to love them. Maybe it's money, maybe it's power, maybe it's recognition, maybe it's social media, which is such a big thing. See, but those are all shadows and illusions that are taking you away from really finding the time to go inside. And your soul is wanting you to go inside. It wants you to feel your perfection. And so the soul is helping you bring up the signposts in your world of things that you dislike or judge or criticize that are pointing back to something inside of self that wants to come into the fullness of life once again. And so every emotion is a gift. If you unwrap the gift and find the magical child within and bring love to that child, you found then the gift of greater knowing and understanding of the great being you are. So, in one way, you see it's a very simple process, but the world keeps taking us out to what we should be doing, what's expected of us, what the world is wanting. We don't find time to meditate or to do our yoga or to do our spiritual practice. So, then once again, we're victims of our own denial of our right to be free. Again, no judgment, no criticism, but simply acknowledging I've given my power away. If I walk into the room right now where you're sitting and I start to do things that claim your power, I bet you'd get angry. I bet you'd say, stop. Well, that's what you have to do. You have to say, stop. And you have to then be the one that stops the self and goes inside and begins to find and feel the emotion, love the child. And because you're now feeling such love and freedom, you no longer meet things in the world that challenge you. Prosperity is no longer a problem. Peace and joy begins to be something that just automatically, like a magical child, begins to live within. And this is then the real beginning of the architecting of the star tetrahedron. Power and love coming together. And I now, with my power and love, can be trusted with this great feeling of creatorship. God I am, source I am, creating life I am, for the joy of simply sharing with all. So this is the great path of awakening you see that we're on. So, one of the things that helps us tremendously in our work is knowing that the breath is where we're really bringing spirit into this equation. So, there's three aspects to the equation. There's mind, which is the focusing of attention and light. There's love and imagination, which is the feeling of love, the feminine. And so when mind and imagination are then brought together with the breath of spirit from inside out, we then are holographically creating life and then imbuing it with life and action. And so breath is one of the major components of our work. So this is why we practice the breath work. A very important part of beginning to actually feel as you're feeling the star tetrahedron moving. It is the breath that you're bringing from inside out that is the energy of power. It's the gasoline. It's the electricity, you see, that is the star tetrahedron is turning. It's then giving it more electricity. It's giving it more power to move at the same time as the power of spirit coming within that automatically imbues life into what you're imagining. So breath is a very important part of our work. So when we breathe in, it's a very deep belly breathing. We're just really knowing that the belly is going out, the diaphragm is going down. And as we're breathing in oxygen, we're really breathing in source from the open doorway within the heart, the doorway back into the void, where Great Spirit is then waiting to come into this dimension to empower your dreams. But now we know that I am the source of summoning spirit. And so as we're breathing in, we're actually breathing from the open doorway, filling the aura with liquid, living, golden light spirit, and with a gentle exhale, simply letting go and watching the movement of this rippling effect of living light flowing out from us. It's restructuring every cell and tissue in the body and is then gifting life all around you. Holding for a couple of counts breath, and then once again, deep breathing. Summoning spirit from inside out. So let's do the breath for about 5 minutes. As I've explained to many of you, I always do the breath work with eyes open. That way it allows me then to begin to do it driving, walking, gardening throughout the day. So let's go ahead and do the deep breath of summoning spirit from the open doorway. You could imagine a string at the top of your head gently pulling you up, elongating the spine, deep, deep breathing. And a couple of more deep breaths, summoning spirit from the open doorway within the heart. As a kid, do you ever remember having those little whirly fans that when you blew upon them, they turned, or when you moved them through the air, they turned? Well, this is exactly what the breath is doing. As we're then breathing source from inside out, it's an energy that is empowering the movement also of the star tetrahedron. And so there's this wonderful movement of breath, the star tetrahedron, and then you see spirit arising forth at the same time. So it's a very, again, important part as you're watching the star tetrahedron turn. It's also the breath you see that is part of that equation of mind, of love, and heart, breath, spirit, creating life. So I'm going to take you through the steps of the star tetrahedron meditation. Again, upper triangulation of divine power, lower triangulation of divine love. And the star tetrahedron can be whatever size feels comfortable for you. It could be this size, the size about the heart chakra, or it could be completely surrounding the body. It really doesn't matter what size you are imagining, because you see, once you open the doorway, because there's no longer any resistance, you're now literally having a doorway open to the void. The entire void could simply arise forth. There's no resistance. It's simply your imagination that is giving you permission to see and feel how much spirit is coming forth through me. How big is the star tetrahedron I am? How much of the Christ matrix am I using to create reality? So again, it's all part of our imagination and the focusing of mind. So let's go ahead again and close the eyes and feel the body relaxing. And we can be aware of the breath that empowers life, the life of the body, the life of the star tetrahedron. And with each breath, we're feeling the body relaxing and letting go. This is another aspect of love, knowing that I am the spirit that created the body, and I can so love the body. I feel the light that I am, the light I am. And as the body is relaxing, we're feeling quiet peace. We bring our attention between the eyebrows, and as we would draw a line straight back, within the approximate center point of the head, the light of the soul. And as you hold attention here, the light ignites. Attention and light are one. And we allow the light to fill the mind and to fill the brain with the light of peace. We focus attention to the heart chakra at the sternum, and we illuminate the star tetrahedron. It already exists It's just the fog of the mind has overshadowed it. But imagination reveals it once again. And the upper triangulation of divine power and the lower triangulation of divine love, as they are rotating front and back and up and down and all around, it opens a sacred doorway within the very center of the heart chakra, the jewel in the lotus. And with the breath arising forth is spirit. And as it touches the facets of the spinning star, it spins out golden, effervescent sunlight and peace. This is the true phrase, I am the light. I have summoned spirit, I am. Through the mind and the heart, I am. I create light, I am. Let us sit quietly together, and I will join us all together into a golden stream, an ocean of living light. And very easily, slowly coming back into the now. I want to thank you for joining together tonight, my friends. It's always quite wonderful. And again, to be observant of throughout the day emotions that come up, not to dislike them, but to realize this is simply a signpost of my awakening, and to move inside and simply bring oneself back into a deeper place of self-acknowledgement from the great soul, the great being you already are. All right, we'll see you in about 2 weeks, plus or minus, my friends. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.